President Hamid Karzai was here a few weeks ago, and with regards to Afghanistan, there were obviously accusations that little efforts were made to provide the military and economic resources necessary for reconstruction and stability that the US promised. Now, what do you make of this, and do you defend the claim that US involvement in Afghanistan has succeeded?
I think it's accomplished a lot. I think a lot of that accomplishment is fragile. President Karzai himself is part of what's fragile, so let's be frank about that. I do think that one of Afghanistan's needs that needs to be recognized, I think better, is the need for financial support. I felt back when I was still in the US government, and I feel this way now, that the key to security in Afghanistan ultimately has to be the Afghan army and the Afghan police. We can't expect Americans or British or any foreign forces to continue shedding blood in Afghanistan for that country. I think we were much too slow in building up an adequate Afghan army. And one of the reasons we didn't move faster was the argument Afghanistan's a poor country, can't dispute that. Afghanistan can't afford to pay for a large army, can't dispute that. Therefore, we won't have a large army. Wrong conclusion. Somebody else should be paying. And I'll say it very frankly, I don't think it's the US taxpayer that should have the main responsibility. There's some very rich countries in that neighborhood, particularly south of the Persian Gulf, that actually have had a contribution to make to creating the mess in the first place, and whose security also depends on sustaining security in Southwest Asia. I think it may not be too late to do it. I wish much earlier, even under President Bush and certainly now under President Obama, that we had confronted Qatar and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and the UAE and said, look, we'll put up some percentage, but you have to put up the remainder. I think we might have actually had a positive result. But at the moment, that whole part of the world is shaking because people believe, rightly or wrongly, that within a short period of time there'll be basically no external support for Afghanistan. It's a morbid joke that an American meets a Taliban in a bar and he's boasting about his fancy Rolex watch, and the Taliban says, yes, you've got the watch, but we have all the time. People in that part of the world have a lot of time. They've been there a long time. They expect to be there a long time. They're not sure whether the help will be there for a long time. And once they begin to think that it won't be, they begin to make deals that are very dangerous. I think if you look at the history of the last few years, you would find that the Pakistani intelligence service, which is not my favorite organization in the world, but they do calculate their own interests, they began to figure, well, we're going to be around and the Americans aren't. Let's calculate on that. So I think more needs to be done, but to come back, more should have been done by President Karzai also.
Mm-hmm.